Hello, it's Mike Rhyner of your Dark Companion here, wanting to thank you all for joining us on patreon.com throughout the year, or that portion of the year that we've been doing this. Also, don't forget to check out the Sunset Lounge. There you can find podcasts such as The Clubhouse. The Clubhouse is your one-stop shop for all things sports, pop culture, entertainment, pro wrestling. Who knows what else these guys might get into. I love these guys. They're great. Since 2010, they brought their knowledge and passion for these subjects and so much more to the internet in a way that is entertaining and engaging. Their show is family friendly, so it's okay to sit down with grandma and be a part of all their shenanigans. They are the Clubhouse. They're at the Sunset Lounge.
Nobody would have thought that I would be the one. Rhyner, sports talk. Baseball, 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 baseball.
Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
Isn't that a lightning strike, boys? What happened over there, Grego? We had a little lightning strike right outside the window.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip?
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket, colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off sake.
This is a cool night or what?
Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
Well, hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Your Dark Companion. This is episode number 98, they tell me. 98 of these things in the books, and we're not even a year old yet. How's that even possible?
There's no way to know that.
No, there's no way to know it, for sure. But, yes, it is the 2nd of April. It is a, is this Wednesday or Thursday or what? Wednesday. Okay.
What year is this?
Yeah, what year is this? I never know these things anymore. And we have everybody here and locked in. We got a very special guest that we're going to talk about today because he is a documentarian. Is that how you fancy yourself?
Actually, no. I mean, yes, I am a documentarian, but I'm a filmmaker. Like, the whole becoming a documentarian was almost accidental. I grew up wanting or knowing that I was going to be a filmmaker, and I used to answer as a little kid, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to write, direct, produce, and star in my own films. That's an impression of me as a kid, just in case you're... as I grew, I didn't really necessarily need to act in them or produce them. Now I produce just because I have to. But Pony Excess was the first time I ever attempted a documentary, and it did kind of well. So it's led to like 14 years, 15, however long it's been in documentary, and now I'm transitioning back or still staying in documentary, but doing a lot more scripted upcoming.
He is Thaddeus Matula. Which do you prefer? Do you go with Thaddeus, or like in business, are you Thaddeus, but your friends call you Thad, or is that how it works?
Yeah, I can't keep people from calling me Thad, and it's still cool, but I always say Thaddeus because it's just fun to say, and I've said it so much now, it's kind of like, well, maybe people can start calling me Thaddeus more often, not just in the business world, but yeah, it's Thad. I mean, I was that's what my mother wanted to name me, was Thad, and so thus Thaddeus. But yes.
In our defense, your social media handles do say Thad Films.
It's funny that you say that because I'm actually going to change my social media handles and all of that stuff because it's like, Thad Films was fun when I got my, Gmail account. Actually, it was Pony Fans, the SMU fan site where I first came up with Thad Films, because I had been Pony Express 83, and then people kept asking me if I had gone to SMU in the 80s. I'm like, no, I just was there January 1st for their last game. And so I changed it to something, and so it'll be changing.
Fair enough.
Now, he is a filmmaker. He is a documentarian. He referenced Pony Express a couple of seconds ago. That's probably, I think it's fair to say that that's probably what you're best known for.
Yes, and it's the documentary is Pony Excess.
Pony Excess.
But I had said
I'm
Pony.
sorry.
No, it was me who brought up the old handle.
Yeah, but the documentary, the film is called Pony Excess, and it examined what was going on with SMU football back in the when was this happening, in the 90s?
In the 80s.
Oh, in the 80s.
The 80s, yeah.
Yeah, this was when SMU football, for those who may not know anything about this, they were playing a little bit, shall we say, fast and loose with the rules as they were defined by the NCAA, the Southwest Conference, and whatever other authorities they might have fallen under back then. And the documentary got to the bottom of all this, and it was really, really good. And if you haven't seen it yet, you by all means, if you're interested in college football at all, and if you're a little curious, maybe you weren't around back then to see how the Southwest Conference worked, if you're a little curious about what it was about and how it all came down, start here. Start with Pony Excess, because, man, SMU just took it to new limits back then. Tell me a little bit about what it was like when you first talk to somebody there about doing the documentary on that.
Well, I'm gonna step back and take a little. I guess I'll take a little umbrage and say that SMU was not doing too much that anybody else wasn't doing.
I know that.
But
they were just, like I say, they were just a little more fast and loose.
Well, it was also because it happened in Dallas, so it's a story of Dallas, and that was when Dallas was the center of the universe. Not that it still isn't, but the show was on. Cowboys were, had risen to America's team status. The Concorde was flying in and out of here. We had the Stark Club where people were coming in from Paris to party. So it was like where people came to make it. Now, the thing is that to your question, when I was getting ready or trying, I grew up actually wanting to tell the story. I mentioned that grew up wanting to be a filmmaker. My dad's a professor, or retired professor, emeritus at SMU. So he retired 7 years ago at age 80. So, but
it's a good run.
Yeah. So I had grown up going to SMU football, and my two favorite things were SMU football and Star Wars. Right. Later it became girls. So that's just to be clear. But when they took it away from us. I say that because it's like I was 8, and when you're 8, things are uniquely yours, and so they took it away from me, and they said that we were cheaters, and I took that personally, and I also knew that it affected people that I knew, like my father and other colleagues, etc. And so I grew up wanting to do it. Now, when I decided that, wait a second, I had always intended to do it as a scripted film. But as soon as I had the idea, I need to talk to these guys anyway, why not bring a camera? Literally, the next Monday is when I started on it full time. Now, I had to kind of keep it, I felt, under wraps a little bit, because the words death penalty were bad words around SMU at the time. And that was really what I was hoping to relieve, just let's take a breath and move past this, right? But in order to move past it and talk about it, I had to talk about what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it was a real split between people who were just not even willing to talk to me, and then some people who were, I see what you're doing here. I mean, my big plan, my big hope was to win fans for SMU. I was just like, this is such a good story that, if we tell it right, and if I don't tell it from a "oh poor us" perspective, and if I also don't tell it from a look at how bad they are, if it's just even, then we have a chance of just showing a great story and bringing people to it. My favorite story is the SMU football SID at the time. He's now risen Brad Sutton. He, when I first came to talk to him about doing this, like I had gotten word that they had found out that I was getting going, and so I was like, well, I got to go talk to Brad, and I poked my head into his office, and I'm like, hi, and he's like, I know who you are. You're Thad Matula, and see, it was Thad then, always. You're Thad Matula. You're doing a documentary on the death penalty, and I'm inclined not to help you. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, to his credit, he says, now, take a seat and convince me otherwise. And I was already sweating. I used to sweat a lot then anyway, but and I think I spoke for like 30 minutes straight on like what I wanted to do. And he looks at me and he's like, well, if I were to help you, what would you need? And went from there. I mean, it helped that the head coach at the time, June Jones, saw the vision, the idea of like, let's, this is a very unique story. Let's tell it. But yeah, I mean,
now, was SMU on their way back from the death penalty at this time, or did they run concurrent, or what does the timeline look like?
So this was the second season of June Jones, and so when June came, we had gone 1-10, 1-11, however many games we had in that time. And his first season at SMU, I mean, SMU hired him from Hawaii after he took Hawaii to a BCS bowl versus Georgia, I believe. And
that was 2008 for the record.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you, were you? Was that your era?
I was 2003 to 2006.
Okay. All right.
They're not proud of me though.
I love that.
SMU doesn't want to associate with me.
Well, I want to associate with you, so how about that? But so on their way back, I can't say, well, I won't say no because they had hired June Jones. Like that was the big thing. It was like we actually went out and got someone who, had a reputation, etc. But what I was going to say is, his first season, we also went 1-11. And so my whole goal with this documentary was that this was the second season of June Jones, and I felt confident that that would be a season that we would see change. There was no ESPN at the time, and so my whole idea was like, I need something to tie it to the present in order to go to the past, because 30 for 30 gave filmmakers the opportunity to tell these stories about past sports stories, but at the time, there wasn't anything where it's like, oh, we're just going to randomly go to this sports story in the past. So I was gonna couch it in that season because I felt like either it happens for SMU this season or it's never going to happen, right? And I mean, I just got a little I don't know. So June has talked to me about how much us doing that film meant to the team, and he had said that, like, you were the first person to believe. You were the first person to say that we were going to a bowl game that year. I was like, well, June, when I wasn't in the building, I was saying either we're going to a bowl game this year or, or it's never going to happen. Yeah. But he stopped me. He's like, but you actually believed the bowl game. And I'm like, I guess I did.
All right, let's go back to the very start, though, when you're first proposing this.
Yeah.
To whoever you talk to about it out there.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that at that time anybody in there would have been terribly on board with the idea.
Not at all. No, and I was afraid to do it in the sense that my father was still a professor there. I didn't want, like, blowback to happen. And I mean, I was lucky enough to find a backer who didn't care. And he, as are many people associated with SMU that have enough money to do a film or whatever, he's an oil man. And so he had been living in Africa when when it all went down, and so he had followed. The only thing that he knew was from the International Herald Tribune. So it was like, I want to know what happened. But yeah, it was like, I can tell you that the people at SMU aren't going to be happy that I'm here talking about the death penalty again, or maybe they're okay with it. But it's just like, at least as from a fan perspective and from a administration perspective, there is, much more to talk about. But like, as I explained to them, I was like, look, this is too good of a story. Like, this is the one time this happened, and this happened it was a perfect storm. If I don't tell this, somebody else will, and that somebody else may not have any interest in what SMU has to say or about it or whatnot.
Yeah.
I was like...
So you made them see that you're going to at least give them the chance to tell their side of the story.
Right.
And you put forth the idea that somebody else who comes in here wanting to do it may not.
Exactly. Well, every time it was brought up in the media, there was no nuance to it. It was like, look at these cheaters, look at how bad they are.
Yeah.
And no, you had the last great newspaper war in this country happening at the same time. So many people that are national sports names were in Dallas at the time, and it's just realities were happening here that didn't exist elsewhere. And I'm not saying that we didn't do what we got punished for. We certainly did. And my doing the documentary really drove that home for me. I had a real come to Jesus moment when I was like, man, we really did this. I think the biggest issue with what happened back then was just the idea of the thought was, well, everybody else is doing it. Why don't you look at them? And what needed to happen was someone needed to realize that they're just not looking at them. They're just waiting for, us to do it again. This is where the NCAA investigators liked to stay when they were investigating any team in Texas. They were always coming back to Dallas. It's a simple. Norm says it in the documentary. Shoot, you could investigate SMU on a bicycle, and so it was like the whole thing was like just realizing that they had a target. But it was such a, I'm going back to this. It was such a difficult uphill battle. But luckily, I'll go back again and say that luckily we had June Jones, who was all about breaking, whatever box. There wasn't an outside the box. There was just no longer a box.
Yeah.
And that also led to like things that fans didn't like. Like he wanted to get rid of the Shetland pony mascot. He wanted big horses. And but it was anything. There was nothing too sacred. And that's what really helped.
I remember that time so well because it was just unlike anything I had ever seen. But, we touched on this just a second ago, and I'd love to hear what else you have to say about it. I looked at it from the standpoint, if little SMU is doing this, then what is Texas doing? What are all these other big football schools doing? What are the Aggies doing?
So I can let you finish if you have, but I can hop in right here.
Okay, that'll be fine.
So I was living in Austin when I was doing this documentary. I lived in Austin for 14 years, and when I first started doing it, before I even did it, I would often talk about wanting to do this film, and I had a former Longhorn player say to me, now, as an SMU fan from Southwest Conference days, the Longhorns were like the Yankees,
Yeah.
Either you loved the Yankees because you were a Yankees fan, or you hated them. And so, it was such a demoralizing feeling to go to UT games in Austin, and I'd wear something SMU, and people would be like, "Oh, it's really a shame what happened to you guys." I'm like, "Read your history. Come on." There's an orange thread. There's a burnt orange thread in there. But I wanted them to be like a little bit combative, but instead they were feeling for me. But this one former player tells me, he's like, Man, it's such such a shame what happened to you guys. Shoot, we had a guy we paid to turn out the lights.
Jeez.
Crazy.
And then after doing the film, the one drawback, and there's no drawback to having directed this film. It was a gift. I was surrounded by amazing people. I want to talk about that in a minute, but like the if you could say it's a downside, it's everybody who then would meet me and want to tell me how they did it at their school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, there was some, like, my favorite is, you've heard this, I'm sure now it's a little bit more known, but LSU and going to Shreveport and people just walking by and dropping chips because you can't trace them, you know,
Right.
like telling them, yeah, anyway. But, yeah, and I mean, you know, A&M had
From all you've heard, you could
fund.
probably write the handbook on how to do it.
Right. Well, and that's why SMU is good again, because we could talk about it. Like I'm just kidding. There's more reasons than it, but like what I've said about it is like that talking about what was now the norm was something that was not frowned upon because we were like, you know, this is our history, right? And so that once the rules changed, we were already ready for it. So... You know,
Yeah.
Let's go. Giddy up.
Does it make you feel any particular way to know that what SMU was punished so severely for is now the norm?
Yeah, you know, so like we didn't include it in the doc, but I asked every single person that we interviewed, does major athletics belong at institutions of higher learning? And whether it does or not, do these kids, these athletes, deserve to get paid, especially when the money is so large with the TV contracts, etc. And you know, I know that the big thing is you feel tied to these kids as the team because it's something where you feel like they're there playing for pride, but it's hard to balance that with then the millions that are made on their efforts, right? And so like, what do you do? Like, if you're going to have this at an institution of higher learning or whatnot, I mean, you know, in Europe, the big soccer clubs, they educate the kids. So you finish with them. Either you can make the team, they've sold you to another team, or you've gotten like at least a high school degree, right? So, and that's arguably how it. Likely, I don't ever like using the word should, but how it should be done in the sense that like those are the teams that are going to benefit. The NFL benefits the most by having the college system because it is a minor league that they don't have to pay for.
Yeah.
And they can watch and see how you do.
Now, let's move on to another documentary of yours, which I remember seeing. In 2014, you got together with ESPN once again, and Brian and the Boz came out of that.
Yeah, so, you know, being from Dallas, we're proud of anything that's from Dallas. Or, okay, let me step back and say that, like, as an SMU fan, I know a lot of people poked fun at SMU, but other than SMU, and that bugged me, we would own it. Like, it's like, oh yeah, Brian Bosworth's from here. You know, like, yeah, we don't like the fact that he went to Oklahoma, but he's from here. And it's like, you know, Lance Armstrong was from here until everything went a little south. Then he was no longer from here. Mm-hmm. But it's like, that was the story. The Boz was from here. And So I grew up, like I said, wanting to tell the story of SMU in the 80s. I did not grow up wanting to tell the Boz's story because, and you know, when I was first contacted, both of these films were independent before they were ESPN. And so when I was contacted by these producers from Oklahoma who wanted to do this story, they were like, hey, we have Brian Bosworth, we have Barry Switzer, we've got the blessing of the University of Oklahoma, and we've got an investor who's ready to come in for $1 million. What advice do you have for us? And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I don't even know if I want to see a movie about the Boz. Don't we know that story? He was a jerk that got what was coming to him. Like, that's end of story. Whatever I said to them must have been very persuasive, and not that. Because a week later, they were like, well, how would you like to direct? And I was like, how much money did you say that you had? But I told their backer, I was like, clearly you're talking to me because you're hoping to get this on ESPN. And it's like, I can't speak for them or anything, but I can say you're not going to make money. So like, whatever, figure out how much you're willing to lose. And I suggested $125K. Isn't that nice to say, hey, why don't you lose $125K? But I was like, for that, we can put together this, we can start the interviews and put together a sizzle reel, and then with good fortune, we'll get it on ESPN. But like, here's the thing about Brian and, you know, getting what he was, that my whole argument about why we shouldn't care was totally flipped on its head, because when I met Brian, and this is why it's called Brian and the Boz, I met someone who liked the Boz even less than I did, and he had to live with him 24/7. So, you know, I was like, well, this is a film right here, you know? And I mean,
so that was all just an act.
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't like, it wasn't self-consciously taking, it took over. So it was like, he was a shy kid, if you can believe it, who wasn't ready at times for the limelight, so he created this persona to hide behind. And it's like, you know, it's like the idea of, I mean, I compare it to the alcoholic who does things that are crazy when he drinks, and then like when he's not drinking, it's like, that's not me, the blah blah blah, and it's just owning that it is you. And this was him hiding behind this. Now the thing is that that's what everybody wanted. Now the crazy thing is, I would hang out with Brian while we were making this, and like, if we went out to a bar or anything like that, like, as soon as someone recognized him, he became the Boz, and it was my cue to leave, because he totally shifted. And the problem was, I mean, he was 49 when we were making that, and his father had just died, and he was going through all these changes. He had gotten a divorce from his childhood sweetheart. He was getting remarried. Oh, by the way, I almost got kicked out of the Boz's wedding because they thought I was crashing it. And I'm like, no, I'm making a movie. I'm making a movie about him. Literally, the bride had to run and stop her father from throwing me out. Anyway, but so he was a 49-year-old man. You know, I said he was 18 going on 50, and what I meant by that is, like, he created this thing, and then he himself, you know, if you look at sort of research on trauma, someone becomes the age that they're stuck in this trauma in a lot of ways. And so the real Brian never got to grow up. And like, I was comparing it at the time with LeBron, and the idea of LeBron going to Miami and having that, you know, the decision thing, right? And it was distasteful, etc. And he grew up still in the limelight and was able to understand, wait a second, you know, that I didn't handle that correctly. Brian, because of injuries, he never got to sort of evolve out of that. And I'm not comparing, you know, LeBron's transgressions weren't, I think they were more not purposeful. I mean, arguably Brian's bigger issues were not, he didn't sit there and plan, I'm going to be this big, you know, it just came out.
Yeah. All right, this is Thaddeus Matula, and it is now time for the dreaded mid-show read. That's right. Nobody gets out of this. We are proud, kids, to announce our new partnership with the Frisco Rough Riders. All shows with Stolen Water Media will make appearances on certain theme nights, and at least one show will be there every Thursday home game for Thirsty Thursdays, when the Lazy River is 21 and up. Now, you know what that means when things get 21 and up. We're kicking off this partnership with a ticket giveaway. We got 4 tickets to the Rough Riders opening day. That would be Friday, the 4th of April. That's 2 days from now. 7:05 is the first pitch. And since every show has tickets to give away, if you lose with this show, Your Dark Companion, try one of the others. Here's how you can win. Go follow Your Dark Companion and the Rough Riders on Instagram. Like one of our giveaway posts and tag the friend you want to take. That's all you got to do. Follow, like, tag. It's a formula. It's like math. It's really that simple. Anyway, you do that and you will be in business. You will be on your way to see Rough Riders baseball. Is that it? Is that all the mid-show read that I get, Shoopy?
You nailed it. That's all.
That's how
Let's
Rough
get back to the
Riders
damn
roll.
interview.
Yeah. Wow. All right, I got one more thing about the boss. that I
Okay,
wanna
please.
ask. Do you think that in the end game he reshaped his image?
Oh, you mean through the film?
Yeah, through the film or through any means. I
Yeah,
mean,
through-
Is he today like he was back then?
No, he's not. He's and the amazing thing is that like the incredible gift of making that film was witnessing him becoming fully actualized. Now it doesn't say he made mistakes after that, but like, you know, I really felt like, so when we first started, we did his interview at Barry Switzer's house, whatnot, and we did a bunch of interviews, and then it was 18 months before we had the ESPN deal, and we came back to finish it. And in the in-between time, so I was, again, living in Austin at the time, and so the producers had flown Brian to Austin, and we had a dinner, which apparently went well because we made a movie. But then he and his fiance decided to stay for a week because they were going to fly me to L.A., and they heard, oh, you know, this Austin film director's coming out, and they were like, why don't you fly us to Austin? Brian had never been to Austin, and so they decided to stay a week, and then, you know, less than 7 months later, they were living in Austin. So I just got to say to the Texas coaches at the time, how did you not get Brian to Austin? Because it might have been a totally different story. But you know, his agent is so funny. I had to call his agent for some reason. I can't even remember now. And like I was reminding him who I was. He said, no, I know who you are. And I'm like, oh, you know, asking what I want. He's like, anything you want. And no one was calling. No one was calling before you were here. And I mean, yes, I think it's real, and I felt the emotion of what Brian was doing. He moved to Austin because he wanted something more real than LA. He had, with his rookie contract, he had bought a house in Malibu. So every offseason from the Seahawks, whatever, he was living in Malibu, and then after his career was over, and his daughters didn't necessarily have an in touch with reality life, and so his son was starting high school, and he's like, I want to go back to Texas. And so he was there really to try and give his son a different, you know, something more grounded. And so that's what I think he was doing for himself, which is why it was so important to do the sequence that we then used as sort of like the how to tell the story, the storage unit, going through the memorabilia that Brian's father had kept, you know, and him going through it with his son. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to quantify, but I really felt like by the time we were done with it and then we were like at the premiere, this was a different guy than when we had started.
Yeah. Is this documentary out there to be viewed anywhere? Or?
Yeah, both of them are ESPN 30 for 30s, and that means that they're on ESPN Plus, but they're also on Disney Plus, or at least Pony Excess is on Disney Plus. I haven't checked Brian the Boz recently, but I think all the 30 for 30 canon is on Disney Plus as well as ESPN Plus. So
now you've got one other thing here that it says you were working on in 2024. That really does interest me because I'm kind of a baseball nerd, you know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I kind of am. This would be 20K. Now, this is about 4 pitchers who have struck out 20 guys in one game.
Yep, in a 9-inning game.
In a 9-inning game.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about this. I mean, I kind of can see what would get a documentarian going on something like this. But what is putting this together been like for you?
It's been an interesting challenge because, initially, former Cubs pitchers Glendon Rush and Glendon was the first person to call me, and it was like it was originally Glendon's baby, and he had this idea, and I basically told him and then everybody else I met through the process that, like, the biggest challenge you're going to have is making a story out of this, because you've got 4 different guys, 5 different games, because the first guy to do it did it twice before anybody else did it. But you don't have any real connection between the 4 and those games. So how do you interweave it? So it's going to be a challenge that you keep coming up against. And at the same time that they were talking to me, they started talking to a film production company, and that's usually code for you're not going to direct it because we're talking to this production company, so it's going to be whoever they want. But fortunately, that production company, I had been an advisor on a film that they had done, and they were really happy with the results. I was a story advisor, so they challenged me with the story. But the issue has become, do you tell it as a standalone, all-encompassing one documentary, or do you tell it as 4 episodes? And I feel like the better answer is the 4 episodes, but the problem with that is, like, you can only tell someone's story through the framing of the game once, because people know that the ship hits the iceberg in Titanic, right? And you're I'm sorry. And there's this door that isn't big enough, so I'm just going to ruin it entirely. But like, you can sort of suspend this idea of, like, I know it's going to hit the iceberg for that works once. You're not going to go back to Titanic 2 for, like, oh, these other passengers. So, like, my thought is, if you make it episodic, you have this opportunity to tell, do portraits of these individuals utilizing their 20K game as sort of a fulcrum. Like, how did it change their trajectory in their career? Because they're going to get 20 strikeouts. It's the name of the
right.
film or
Sure.
series. But then, there's just this sort of balance between that and then, like, celebrating the feat by having it all in one film. And so we filmed enough that like, we're in this point where it's like, does it it can go either way. We have a rough cut of it as a standalone. We have a rough cut of at least the first 2 episodes, and so we're just looking for the right partner to take it home, and we're going to utilize the work with partner to answer that question, and what is the market going to call for.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a very interesting thing, because we so much about talking about team sports is the wonderful thing about team, which is setting aside your personal X, Y, and Z for the betterment of the team. But, like, here's this feat that, like, there's not anything that I can think of like it in any other team sport, where one person can completely dominate, and it's not like, if Tom Brady is throwing the ball and no one's catching, it's like, that's a big problem. You're not going to win that way.
The only other thing I can think of that might come close to something like this would be the Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's the one that we always get.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I mean, that comes close, right? And that might that might be the equal. Trying to sort of, it's Wilt's. A pitcher is this one position that starts every play, and so that is, there is a difference. But yeah, you can't argue with 100-point game.
Still, though, 4 guys have done this. One of them has done it twice.
Yes.
And who are the 4?
Well, I mean, I think you guys probably looked this up, so I shouldn't do like a do you know?
No, I did not. I did not.
Okay, so would you like to hazard a guess?
All right. I want to say Nolan Ryan's got to be in here.
Incorrect. He got to 19 4 times.
19 4 times, but never 20.
Never 20.
All right. Now I know Max Scherzer's one of them.
You got it. By the way, Nolan Ryan's son is an executive producer on the film, and we have Nolan in the film. So, living legend. He would not answer anything about snow monkeys. I mean, he literally, yeah.
Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah. I was like, tell me about snow monkeys. He's like, not going there.
Bob Gibson?
Nope.
Oh, God, I'm running out of shit here.
Okay.
Did Koufax do it?
Nope. And the first time it ever happened was 86. The second time it happened was 96, and it was the same guy.
Oh, my God.
Shoopy, you're going to feel really silly.
I know.
Number 21, if that helps.
He won?
He wore number 21.
Clemens?
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Roger Clemens.
Yeah, and then what? Another Texan a couple years later.
Right. So
it was a
someone
rainy day,
from
Shoopy.
Someone from around here.
From Irving, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Went to the same high school as Boz, but he transferred. So can't remember if he finished at the same high school or
Drawing a blank.
Kerry Wood.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kerry Wood. God, I should have nailed that.
So he did it in his 5th major league start, and I mean, talk about like just a star rising. Now, the issue with him is he had a long career, but injuries plagued the career, and he missed what would have been his entire second season due to injury. And as a storyteller, you have to look for like, what's your hook? How are you going to talk about these people? And one of the questions that I had was, is he a what might have been story, because he had this big kind of thing. And unfortunately, the production shared my creative document with Carrie, and Carrie's wife saw it, and she took very big. She was not happy with me that I wanted to ask, and like his story though is
just because of the what might have been thing.
Right? Yeah. Like and like. I took that tack because that's like, I mean, that's a question that can come up in anybody's mind when you say this was his 5th major league start.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's a very logical question for me. A very normal, very logical question in the course of doing something like that.
But when it's your spouse, it probably does feel a little different.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to throw her under the bus or anything. I'm more trying to throw like Glendon Rush. I'm throwing you under the bus for sending it over.
Damn it, Glendon.
No, but like, yeah, the big thing is like, it's like. So in the Boz film, Brian at the time wasn't in the College Football Hall of Fame, and I asked every single person, does Brian Bosworth belong in the College Football Hall of Fame? And we got so many great answers. And then I had not too big of an argument, but we went back and forth on it with my producer. Like, he really wanted us to say, and Brian Bosworth isn't in the College Football Hall of Fame. And I was like, let's not say it, because we can affect that. But if we tell the voters, hey, you're wrong for not voting him in, they're gonna feel that. But if we just present the argument, and sure enough, we he got into the College Football Hall of Fame, the very first vote after. By the way, that investor that I talked to about how much money he should put in for it, I asked him, what's a non-monetary thing that you would like to see out of this film? And he said, I would like to see Brian Bosworth in the College Football Hall of Fame. And I was like, I can do that for you. And not only that, he's got an Emmy on his desk. So that was an added bonus. But point is that, like, regardless of whether even the documentary itself asks the questions outright, those kinds of questions can get to different answers. Yeah. So
now I'm noticing a couple of other things that you've got underway right now that interest me for sure, because I'm into these kinds of things. Something having to do with Fair Park?
Yeah. So I moved back here right before COVID, and I don't know where I'm going to be long term. I mean, it's already been long term that I've been back, but I came here with the idea that, first of all, there's enough money here to make any film I'd ever want to make, but also, like, people were encouraging me to plant a flag in Austin, and I love Austin. I really enjoyed my time there. It's a great place to live, but it didn't need me. I mean, I'm needed anywhere, but I just knew that people like a younger version of me here in Dallas, high school, college, I didn't have someone I could turn to. Yeah. And then also thinking about stories, like, there are so many good stories that involve Dallas. And so I came here with the idea of, like, I don't know how long I'll be here. I want to tell Dallas stories. And so Fair Park is, it's sort of evolved now into this, it's a modern noir thriller. And initially it was about bodies being found in Fair Park, and now it's become more about a detective trying to solve the murder of his partner. But it's very much the third man, but here in Dallas, and it looks at the sort of the divide between North and South, and I bring up Third Man for a reason, because that's a film starring Orson Welles, where they're in Austria when it was divided between different countries after World War II. I've had my eyes open. I've always heard about this, not many highway entrances or exits in South Dallas. I've had a couple projects lately that have taken me there to film, and, like, you can't get it takes forever to get anywhere there. And it's like, it's nothing like my knowledge of Dallas from growing up. And to see this and to sort of understand that this dichotomy happens. So when I started Fair Park, and for 25 years I've had the idea, it was always just a standard noir film. But as I came back to, as being here in Dallas, it was like, there is a story around race where we don't have to make a movie about race, but, like, you make a great detective thriller, action, all this kind of stuff, but you set it against something that's true, that's in the city, that maybe people don't know about or would raise tensions. I'm like, this is not like a make a statement kind of film. It's just simply that's the world it's set in.
Yeah. So that's the dynamic of the thing. Right. Now you've also got something else Dallas related here. This says this is untitled, but it's a 50s and 60s project. Is that still in the mix? Yeah. I mean, the title could be The Bleeding Concrete. It's inspired by a conversation you had with the writers of Dallas 1963. And Bill Minutaglio.
Yes. Yeah. And when you did that, I was living in Austin, and I get a call at I think as you're doing the show, and someone is like, you have to do this. You have to make this a movie. And he was not the only one to say that. And so I got back here and I was like, well, we got to figure out something there. And I talked to Bill, et cetera, and we were looking at, maybe optioning the book, but then we just kept finding more sources, and it was like, you know what, we as a storytelling team, as a film team, we need to find our own way through this because of all that's out there. But it really is, also there's a great book that just came out called The King of Diamonds. I don't know if you've read that, but it's about a jewel thief here in Dallas in the 60s. But there's so much intrigue and
yeah, I have heard of that.
Yeah,
I haven't read it yet, but I have heard of that.
Yeah, so but there's The Accommodation is another book that's involves the era.
Yeah.
Not only though was it, it has been called, Dallas has been called the city of hate for some things that were happening at the time, but what is less known is the fact that civil rights leaders gathered here in Dallas, and there's an argument that the civil rights movement was birthed by the fact that these people came together in this sort of cauldron to make change. So there are elements that aren't as on the surface.
Yeah. What do you think about Matthew McConaughey and what he represents for authentic Texas movies, if anything?
Well, is this a loaded question, or is this?
No. Just wondering.
I love McConaughey. I'm putting together a scripted series on Pony Excess, and I'd love to cast him in it. I think he's great, and it's also wonderful. He has this. It's not schlocky, but he has this image where, yes, early in his career, he took his shirt off all the time and got sort of like a thing for that. But he's also very committed to his craft. And he's very committed to the role that he plays within whatever, organization he's a part of, and he takes it seriously. Now, you may say, well, the guy's known as such a big Longhorn, why would he ever be involved in anything SMU related? He actually wanted to go to SMU. It's in his book, and I'd heard it before that, and he was going to go during the death penalty. He wanted to become a lawyer, and as the story goes, his brother takes him aside and says, Dad's too proud to say it, but it would really help him. He's not doing as well as he used to be. It would really help him if he went to Texas. And he never told his dad that he had that conversation. Walks out and, Dad, I think I'm going to Texas. But I know that at least there was that. But so speaking, I just brought up The King of Diamonds. There's a character in The King of Diamonds, George Owen, who I would love McConaughey to play. So Matthew, if you're a big fan of Mike Rhyner, and who isn't, or Group, actually, if you're a big fan of Groups,
yeah.
Yes.
Shoopy's the draw here,
right? Yeah, obviously. Now you know officially. But I never, I ran into him a number of times in Austin, but I never wanted to bug him. And I just felt like when the time was right, the time was right. There was a time where we were in HEB and nobody else was around. And I'm like, I'm not gonna interrupt his shopping. He can do him. But yeah, now it's time to utilize everything that I can. And I just think that he's solid.
Do you have to go through people to get to somebody like that? His guys or anything?
In other cases, there would be, yes. But I have enough direct connections that it's not going to be, I don't have to go through the people that are paid to keep people away, right? Like Mac Brown was in Brian and the Boz. Not to say that I'm close with Mac, because I'm not. We're Facebook friends, so there's that.
That counts for something.
Yeah, you can slide into his DMs.
Yeah, I've done that. And then Jack Ingram's an SMU alum, lives in Austin, country star. They have it used to be called the Mac Jack and the Mac Jack and Matt Mac Jack and whatever. The Mac Jack and Matt, and now it's the Mac Jack and McConaughey. But this fundraiser they have every year. So there are a number of ways I can go through. I actually here's a big reason. One of the reasons I'm back in Dallas is I had the great fortune to work with McConaughey's class. So McConaughey teaches a class at UT, but he's Matthew McConaughey, so he can't be there every week, whatnot. So it's team taught. So the filmmaker professor that's in Austin, he's there every week, and Matt, I just call him Matt. I have no business calling Mr. McConaughey Matt. He Skypes in, now Zooms in at times when he's shooting. But one thing that Scott Rice, the professor of that class, is a great dude, has a great company in Austin called Two Shot West. They make this science, PBS science series, and they use he usually directs, and they use the class to be the crew of that. And there was a time where he was traveling, and they had 3 episodes that needed a director. And I've done some conservation documentary work, so the science stuff is kind of there for me. And I was looking at it, and I was enjoying working with these kids. I had a lot of UT interns, but to be there with this class, and I just was thinking, these kids have McConaughey, and Rick Linklater is not hard to find. Neither is Robert Rodriguez. You can even run into Terrence Malick, or Terry, as his friends call him, here in Austin. I'm I didn't have any of this in Dallas when I was in high school at Jesuit or in college at SMU. There wasn't that.
Yeah.
Any one guy. It wasn't so there's I need to go back to Dallas and hopefully be that guy for somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds a little... I'm grateful to be in the position that I'm in.
You are that guy for your dark companion today.
Hell yeah.
And we certainly thank you for being with us.
What a thrill and an honor to be here.
He is Thaddeus Matula, an Emmy and Peabody Award-winning director. And if you have not checked out Pony Excess yet, you need to do that. It's a story that's got a few years in it, but it's still fascinating nonetheless, especially if you're connected to SMU or you remember the halcyon days, especially if you remember the halcyon days of the Southwest Conference. You need to check this out. All right.
I do have to plug something,
if
you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
I have a film that just came out on Amazon Prime and on Apple TV. It's called Into the Spotlight, and it's a story. It's a Dallas story about a program here where a group of adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities put on an original musical, and it happens over at Highland Park United Methodist Church. It's supported by them, but it's this opportunity for individuals to use their voices to tell their story. And so it was such a gift to be able to be just even remotely involved in this.
What's it called again?
Into the Spotlight.
All right.
So I need people to watch it. Unfortunately, you have to rent or buy it right now because we need to show an audience. But we did show some. I mean, we played in 19 festivals around the world, winning 17 awards. So people liked what we were doing, and it was probably the most difficult film I've made, mainly because I didn't want to force anything on this, and so we, as a team, we were just filming everything that we could to allow for these individuals, their voices to come up. And it was, you know, I mean, I'll always thank my friend Ricky Townsend for calling me when the church was looking for someone. And he was like, I got to direct that. And then he's like, I should ask Thaddeus what I need to do. And then he's like, wait, I should ask Thaddeus if he wants to direct. And that's, gosh, what happened. And so then I got to meet their head pastor, Paul Rasmussen. What an incredible guy. But the program, Lisa Schmidt is the director of it. It's amazing. And I hope if when you watch it, you'll see that I hope we've done it justice. And the whole thing is about these individuals, like the program is about lifting up, providing a platform for them to share their stories. Right. And so we worked extra hard to make sure this film was not us. You know, like whenever I'm not like a disabilities advocate. I am now because of doing this film, but I didn't start as one. But I always, you know, when you're talking about Down syndrome or autism that is so far on the spectrum that, you know, you talk about it, it's so often like on 60 Minutes told through a doctor telling you, well, this is what they go through, and the parents telling you, well, my son or daughter, and I only knew that, and I was so excited to hear their voices. And so we as a team, it was decided that, like, let's just be with them. And so it's a film where we shot hundreds of hours, because the whole fact of the journey was that you were going to live from their perspective.
And it's called what?
Into the Spotlight.
And it's available where?
It's on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. You can rent or buy it, and if enough of you rent or buy it, then we might get a streaming deal, and also review it. So this is how things work. You know, like when they first talked to me about doing this documentary, I was like, when we're done with it, you know, the only thing that we're really going to have going for it is that it'll be good if we do our jobs right, you know? And like, I feel like there's a great film in here, but like, you know, we got a little traction because we were, you know, submitted for the Oscars, whatnot. And so there was, but like, I knew we weren't ever going to win because we weren't about an orphanage in a war zone, right? Yeah. You know, and like, granted, I've done a couple of ESPN films. I've been fortunate enough to win a couple awards, and it's not me, by the way. The crews that have surrounded me, they're the heroes why we've won any awards. But I was like, you know, my name doesn't carry any weight. It would only carry weight in an SMU story, maybe, right? But like, it might be an interesting thing. So like, we're just going to have to really rely on it finding an audience because we've done a good job. And so I would love it if you guys could go watch it and enjoy it. And it was like I said, it was the hardest film because of all of the hours of footage, and just so thankful to my editors Miles and Megan on it, because they went through everything and we made something beautiful, and it's credit to them and to the church and to Michelle Cox, etc.
All right, you have your marching orders. Check it out. This has been your Dark Companion. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.
All right. I'm gonna go take my pants off.
Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation.